band director was asked, how do you teach students to control their air properly instead of just telling them to play softly to avoid sounding bad and being kind of a distraction? So Brent, what suggestions would you have to help a student with air control? And before I ask you, let you kick off that, there's a person online has asked how to help online beginners avoid hooting each note instead of connecting the notes. And I think maybe this ties in with air control a little bit.
So the actual reed that we use to blow into is quite small. You know, it does not take a lot of air to make the thing actually vibrate. The opening of it is minimal. It does not take a lot of air. It takes focused air. And all of my years of teaching, I used to carry things like straws around with me, not like a straw that you would get like at McDonald's, but one that you would, get in, maybe a well-mixed drink. But again, one of the small ones, and have them take different size breaths and try to blow through the straw. There's only so much air that's going to go through that straw. You'll learn very quickly how much air you need to focus enough through to get, say, 5, 6, or 7 seconds worth of support through it before you have to exhale. Oboists, again, I don't know percentages exactly, but we use much less air than we actually take in. It's actually more important to exhale and to breathe out the air that we actually don't use before we take another breath in. So I think teaching them, number one, find places to breathe out as well as places to breathe in. Again, going back in I still can see my my beginning band book, best in class, black cover. And I remember, again, seeing little commas where it says exhale here, or breathe in here, breathe here. Well, for an oboe player, breathe means two different things, breathe in and breathe out. A flute player is probably just going to be breathing in. But in terms of support, another thing you can do is one of those tiny little balloons. They give a lot of back pressure, which again, the oboe often will have a lot of back pressure. It's not the amount, it's the focus. And I always tell my students, have the focus come from as far down from, again, where the actual instrument is resonating, so that the support comes from your abdomen. You're using your abdominal muscles to keep your support, almost like a pear shape. The belly of the pear is, kind of think about that as like where your air reserve is and where the power and the pressure is to get it to come up to here, so that when the air reaches up in this area in your mouth, you're relaxed. The pressure is here. You relax as you get up into your embouchure.
Great, Brian. Have you got anything to add to that, or are we good?
No, that's really fantastic. I love the straw idea. It's a really terrific idea. I really don't have much to add to that because that was very thorough, and I agree with all of it. But it's even having the kid just play on their reed is very essential. In fact, what our major teacher in this country who developed the American style of oboe playing would have all of his students play only on the reed for like entire lessons, just so that you get used to the back pressure, what it takes to make it vibrate, and also, most importantly, what it takes to keep it steady in the embouchure so that it's not like flailing all over the place. So it's very important. I always tell the kids, take a breath, then blow half of it out. Now play. Yeah. All right. We want to tank up, especially if you're coming from the flute or a brass instrument or any other woodwind. You tank up before you play. If you do that on the oboe, you're going to pass out because we have too much air in us. And that's why oboe players turn red and look so uncomfortable when they're playing. It's usually not because the reed is too hard. It's because they have too much oxygen in their lungs and it's starting to turn. And they're on the verge of blacking out. So it might seem counterintuitive to a band director teaching a wind player not to take a full breath, but on the oboe, that is actually correct. We only play on a half reserve of lung, even for a huge long phrase, like if we're playing Bach or something. You just don't want to tank up. It'll make it actually much worse for you. So yes, that the straw idea is fantastic. And also tell your kids, take a full breath and blow half of it out. Now play. So those would add to that. Yeah.